Welcome back. In this video, we'll have a look at what is futures in Dart. Now, in order for me to explain what a future is, we can have a look at a simple simulation just to use a few methods. And you can see we will start with our main.dart with just a main method, and we're going to go and eat some pizza. So we're running the method go eat pizza, and this is how your pizza ordering queue could look like. You could go into a shop or maybe go to somebody that is selling pizza, and basically what the steps will be is you will start making the order, and then you will wait for your order to get prepared. While you are waiting, you will be chatting with each other, and then when your order is ready, you can eat and you can pay. So we will simulate something like inside of a restaurant where you will get or make your order, start chatting with each other while you're waiting for your order to get ready, and then when it's ready, you can start eating, and afterwards you can pay. Right, so let's get into coding. So we will start off with the main method to just say go and eat pizza. Now we want to have a few other methods here as well. So one method that we will have if we go to eat pizza is actually to order the pizza. So that will be step number one. And I'm just going to have a simple print statement in here, and the print statement will basically just say, as soon as the method is done ordering pizza. Okay, so that's the order method. After the order method, we will maybe start chatting. So we can just print out chatting. Right, maybe before we start chatting, we will need to get the pizza ordered. And for that, we will also have a void method for now, get the pizza ordered, and we will just print out here, pizza delivered successfully. And then maybe the last method that we can have here will be something like eat and pay. Now for eat and pay, we will basically just print out something. When we're done with eating and paying, we will just say paid and on my way home. Okay, so the sequence of events could be the following. We will start off with ordering the pizza. Then we will start waiting, or this process will be started first to get your pizza that's actually ordered, which means that you will get maybe a slip that says that you've ordered a specific pizza, and your slip gets passed to the chef that needs to prepare your pizza. And this is the process of getting your pizza ordered. While we are doing that, we will also be chatting. And then after chatting, or after your pizza is then ready, the get pizza ordered, we will eat and pay. Okay, so if we run this now, let me just open up the terminal. And then we get, let me just say dart, main.dart. And you can see everything happens sequentially. We are done ordering the pizza first. Then after ordering the pizza, it says the pizza has been delivered successfully. We started chatting, and then we paid on my way home. So let's say that this doesn't really make sense for us to have it in this specific sequence, because while we are still waiting for this pizza to be delivered, we want to start chatting. So let's say that getting this pizza ordered can take some time. So I'm going to do the following. I'm going to say, let's use a duration. And the duration class just basically gives me some sleep time for my application. So I'm going to set a specific duration. Let's call it wait time. And let's set the duration. And you can see that the duration object, it takes in basically either days, hours, minutes, seconds, milliseconds, or whatever. So let's just use a few seconds. Let's make it 4 seconds. So we're going to wait for 4 seconds, and that's the time it will take to get the pizza ordered. And I'm going to use a method called sleep. Now, in order to use that sleep method, in order to take this duration and halt my program for a bit, we will need to have an import statement at the top, and we're going to use the .io. Okay, so if we go down, I'm going to use a method called sleep. And that sleep takes in a duration object. So I'm going to pass in that wait time, and you'll see now basically what's going to happen is my program will start halting when it gets to get pizza ordered. So let's save this quickly, and I'm going to run this again. So it says done ordering pizza. Now we are waiting to get the pizza that we ordered. The pizza has been delivered successfully. We started chatting and we paid and we're on our way home. Now, this doesn't really make sense because we are done in. So let's say we go from the start again. We put in our order, then we wait for the pizza to get ordered, and only after that we can start chatting. So this is not very nice because you won't be standing there and just looking at each other. You will actually start chatting right away. Now, yes, we could have added the chatting maybe just before get pizza ordered, but maybe you wanted to make sure that as part of that process, you check and make sure that that piece of paper actually went to the chef. Okay, and then after that, we can start chatting. But now what happens now is we need to wait for this whole get pizza ordered method to stop first and be done first before we can get actually to the chatting part. Now we can do the same. We can say let's do the same for eat and pay so that we can get this same type of duration there because when you're eating, it also takes some time. So let's say that is another 4 seconds. So if we run this now, we will see we're done ordering pizza. But now we actually want to start chatting. Now the pizza is delivered successfully. Okay, now we're chatting. And now while we're chatting, we are also eating and we pay and we're on our way home. Okay, so both of them, you can see that the sleep method is basically a synchronous method, which means that it halts your application where you're currently at. So it will wait for that time to pass, 4 seconds, before it will carry on. And this is sequentially running everything of your coding. So we start there with calling go eat pizza because everything starts in the main method. So we call go eat pizza. Order runs first, we just prints out this. Then this one runs, get pizza ordered, and we'll need to wait for this whole sleep to be done, and then it prints out pizza delivered successfully. After that, we call chatting. Then it goes to chatting and it prints out chatting, and then it goes to eat and pay. It waits for 4 seconds, and then it prints out paid and on my way home. So in most cases, this is definitely not what we want because we do not want to halt the screen of the user unnecessarily. Okay, so there's another thing that we can actually use here. Instead of using sleep, I can go and I can use a future. So I'm going to explain the future now. I just want to show you what's the difference here. So I'm going to use a future dot delayed. So it's also going to delay, but you'll see that the delayed function here has got a duration, just like the sleep, and then there's a computation part that happens, and when it's done, when the duration is done, it runs the computation part. So this one is a bit better. I'll show you now why. So if we're going to use wait time there, the second argument is a function that gets returned, or basically just a callback function for after this wait time. So inside of here is what will happen as soon as the wait time is over. So I'm going to place this print method inside this part and just say save there. So what will happen here is it will still sleep. When it's done sleeping, it is going to into this print method and print out pizza delivered successfully. Now let's just quickly have a look at the difference now. So I'm going to run this again. You can see done ordering pizza, and chatting now ran before we actually had this. So let's look at the sequence now. It says done ordering pizza. Then we started chatting, which is quite fine because while we are waiting, we want to actually get the pizza. But now look at the sequence now again. Now it says paid and on my way home, and then pizza delivered successfully. Okay, so let's just run sequentially through this. We will start again at go eat pizza. It will run order, and it will print out done ordering pizza, and that's the first printout statement that we see. But then it prints out chatting. So what happens after that? We call get pizza ordered. Now, get pizza ordered will still set the duration to 4 seconds, but this future part now is not synchronous like the sleep method, which means it is not halting my application. It will run in the background. So what is happening here, it is sequentially stepping through it. It's going to get pizza ordered, it runs that line, and it runs this future, but it doesn't wait for it to actually complete. And then after that, it directly goes into chatting, which means that chatting now completed before this process, and it prints out chatting. Now, after that, it will call eat and pay. And Eat and Pay will actually hold your application for a while, and that is the sleep wait time that we get there. And after that is done, it will print out paid on my way home. But I don't actually know exactly when this one will be done. It will basically take 4 seconds. But you can even see here that we've got done ordering pizza, then chatting, and then paid and on my way home. So we would expect that this one would actually complete before this one, as the duration is exactly the same. But even now you can see that it could be a few milliseconds out maybe. And then it prints out paid and on my way home first, and then pizza delivered successfully. Okay, so this is the difference between a future year and just a method like sleep, for example, that halts your whole program. So this one is synchronous. It basically runs in your main thread, which means it's halting your application. Whereas this runs in a background thread, and it will basically continue the rest of your application while waiting for this to actually finish. And that's the same as what we've got with ordering a pizza. We actually don't want to just wait here until we get the pizza before we start chatting. We want to go on chatting while we are waiting in the background for something to complete. And we don't know. They could tell you it's going to take 4 seconds or 4 minutes, but in fact it could take a minute longer or a few seconds longer. Okay, so we don't really know when that future will be getting back. And this is simulating now something that takes 4 seconds, but this could be getting some internet or something from the internet, like a picture or getting some data from a database. And you never know exactly how long it will take. Okay, so in our case, it doesn't make sense to have it this way. Okay, done ordering pizza makes sense. Start chatting, yes, for sure. We want to start chatting while we get this pizza that's ordered. And then we get paid and on my way home, and only then I get my pizza delivered successfully. So obviously these 2 steps doesn't make sense for me. So what I can do now is to change this a bit so that I make sure that this method actually completes before I call Eat and Pay. Chatting is fine because we do want to start chatting, but I want to make sure that this get pizza ordered finishes first before I start calling Eat and Pay. Okay, so what I want to do then is to return back a value here. So as soon as it's done, we want to return back a value. So this value that we're going to return back will just be a string. And I'm going to add a string value here. I'm going to say string, let's say the pizza that we ordered, pizza equals, and we're going to start off with no pizza yet. Just remember the null safety also. If you do not assign a value here, then you will probably make this nullable. So just remember about null safety. So I'm assigning a value, so it won't have a problem with a null value that I'm going to return later on. So I'm going to say at the start, there's no pizza yet. Now, if I print out in this print statement, after you know that or maybe just before that, doesn't really matter, it happens so fast. So I'm going to set this pizza as, and you get a pizza called a carnivore. That's all meaty type of pizza. So let's say the pizza that you've ordered is a carnivore, and that pizza, as soon as it's done after the 4 seconds, it will set the pizza to the carnivore, which basically means your pizza is now ready. And I will return that pizza value now. Okay, so that is the method now. I'm going to return, as soon as this is done, and I return pizza, it will return the carnivore. Okay, so now, where do I want to pass this? So as soon as get pizza ordered is done, I want to get that value. So I'm going to have a string this side, and I'm going to say string pizza equals get the pizza ordered. Now, I want to pass in the pizza to the Eat and Pay. Now, let's look at this quickly. I'm going to pass in the pizza there, so it's a string. And let's say we just want to say paid pizza. So it will show paid, carnivore, and on my way home. Okay, so let's look at the sequence now. I'm going to pass in pizza there, and I'm going to save. So what's going to happen? We're going to get the value from get pizza ordered. Then we're going to call chatting, and then we're going to pass it to Eat and Pay. Now, let's run this quickly, and I think you can already think about an error that could occur here. Now, let's look at this at the steps running. Done ordering pizza, chatting. Paid no pizza yet. and on my way home. Pizza delivered successfully. So what value was returned here? You can see the value no pizza yet has been returned, which means that we actually returned this before we were done with this part. And that makes sense still, because everything runs still sequentially, which means when you call get pizza ordered, it will run this line, then this line, and then this line. But this line we do not know when it actually completes, and it doesn't halt my application, which means it carries on to the next line and it returns pizza before this part is done, because running sequentially runs very fast compared to the 4 seconds delay that we've got here. So what gets returned? Only that value, because we are not done yet. So in order to get past that, there's a keyword called await that we can use, which basically means it will halt at this line before it carries on to the next line. Now, when you use await, you can only use await in a function that has got the async keyword. So make sure that you place it there, and you can see there it says async. It's between the pizza or the method or the function name and the parameter list. Just after that, but before your opening bracket, you need to add async. And now you can see await has got no problem. But now we've got a problem with the return type. It says, let's go to the bottom, functions marked with async must have a return type assignable to future. Okay, so I'm going to explain this now, but basically what we need to do is to return a future type. Now, a future type is basically just a promise of a value that you will get somewhere in the future. So it's basically saying, I'm promising you that somewhere in the future, you will get this pizza value returned that will in fact be carnival. Okay, so we'll come back to the concept of a future now. So let's just see how this changes our coding. So basically what happens now, it's going to step sequentially through it. This one will be set. The pizza will be set to no pizza yet. And then it will halt here. It will stop here and wait for this future delayed to complete before it returns pizza. But it doesn't halt your entire program, because the rest still goes on. This method is asynchronous, which means this whole method now runs in the background. And only when it completes, it returns the value. Now, just have a look at this again now. Now we've got string pizza is get pizza ordered. Now this has got a problem again, and it says the value of type future dynamic, so the type of the future is currently dynamic, could be any value, can't be assigned to a variable of type string. So what we need to do here is to also add the await keyword here and make this method an async. Then it's okay with it, because now it knows that it's waiting for a future value to get back. That future value will in fact be a string at the end and will be saved into the variable called pizza. Okay, so I'm going to come back also with the data types here, because why if I take away this await, then it tells me the data type is future dynamic. But if I add the await there, then it's fine with the data type. It's still future dynamic, but I'm saving it as a string. Okay, so I'm going to explain that a bit later on. So instead of getting back a future dynamic, we can also change this future to a string. So it's a future string because the value that we are returning is in fact a string. And then if you hover over that, you will get back a future string. Okay, so let's just see how this runs before we do anything else now. Let's see how it runs. Done ordering pizza, that's fine. Can you see chatting didn't take place actually? Pizza delivered successfully, now we're chatting. Paid carnival and on my way. So yes, we waited for this method to complete before we started chatting and eating and paying. And now we're back at square one, where actually we are still waiting for this part to be done before we can start chatting. And that's not what we want. So just take note of the await, and this is how we can use the await inside of this method. It works perfectly here. But in this specific line, we actually do not want the await. Now, before we continue, let me just show you something now. I'm going to print out get pizza ordered. So I want to show you what we get when we print out get pizza ordered. So I'm going to comment out everything else. and just save. And I want to show you what we get if we just print out get pizza ordered. Now, get pizza ordered now, you can see it prints out instance of future string. So basically, the value that gets returned here from just calling get pizza ordered is a future value. So it's a promise of a value that you will eventually get. Okay, so just note that we actually did not get back no pizza yet, and we also did not get back carnivore. We got back a future string. So that is just a promise of a value that we will eventually get. So obviously it wasn't done when we printed, and that's why we just get the promise, the future string. But when we print out when it's done, you will see that we actually get back the carnivore. So I'll come back to this concept again now as soon as we are done with this. Right, so let's go back to where we were. So we said now that this await here still gives us problems. So now instead of using await, there's another thing that we can also do. So I'm going to maybe just comment out this line, and let's look at the following. We can call get pizza ordered, and then you will see there is a then method. And instead of using the fat arrow, I'm going to use curly braces there, so we can actually do something in this. So what happens now is we call get pizza ordered, which will start running this method or this function. And then when it is done, it will return back the value. And you can see the value is a string. And it's exactly what we're returning there. It will be this pizza value. So now we're making sure that only when this is done, then we can do something, which means I can keep chatting there. I'm going to move this eat and pay into this part and change pizza there to the value. Now that value will be the value for the pizza that was returned. So if I save now, what is going on now? So we're going to call order, then we're going to call get pizza ordered. When get pizza ordered is done, then it will return back a value, which is a future value, which is a string future value. And that value will then, and only then, be passed to eat and pay, which will be this one, and it will hold for 4 seconds and print out. Paid the pizza and on my way home. So instead of using await, you can use the then method to make sure that something completes first before you do something else. So let's look at the sequence of how it's going to work now. So we start off with go eat pizza. It runs this method. This method will run order. It will print out done ordering pizza. Then it's going to call get pizza ordered. So it's going to call this function here. It's going to wait until it's done. But the rest of the coding will still carry on. So while this is still in process, chatting will already run, and it will print out chatting. So let's see if this actually now runs as we expected. So let's run it. Done ordering pizza, chatting. Pizza delivered successfully, 100%. Paid carnivore, and on my way home. Okay, so now everything works exactly as we expect it to work. So let's just quickly grasp this concept of what is a future. So a future then, if we look at our picture here, first thing we do is we come and we order. Then this method starts running. So after ordering, we call get pizza ordered. They send our order to the chef, and they give us a promise of getting what we ordered, which is the carnivore pizza. They give us the promise that we will get that carnivore pizza in the form of maybe a slip, or maybe in the form of an order number or something like that. They give you the promise that something will be delivered later on. That future will be delivered. That pizza, that carnivore pizza, will be delivered somewhere in the future. So the value now that gets returned in get pizza ordered after this whole process is done is not the future anymore or the promise anymore. It's the actual pizza. It's the carnivore that gets returned right at the end. But let's go and do this again. So I'm going to print out get pizza ordered. Okay, so we will print out directly what the method returns on this specific line in that instance. Okay, then obviously it's going to call the method, go into the background, and eventually return the value that we want. So that's what we're going to do in this part. So I'm going to say get pizza ordered, then value, and let's print out that value there before we go into eat and pay. So I will print out the value, which should be the carnivore that we get back. Should be this value. Okay, so let's see how this runs now. So sequentially stepping through it, the following will happen. We will print out this one. As soon as the method starts, we print out what the method returns. And then we call the method again and then wait until it's completed before we print out this. Now, maybe let's just do something else here. So I'm just going to look at the testing. Let's do it like this. Get the value there, and I'm going to do the same here. Let's just put this in double quotation marks or quotation marks, and then I will just say testing again. And then we will have the value of get pizza ordered. But in order for that to work, we will need to have the brackets there as well. Okay, so we're only going to look at the testing printouts here. So there's two different printouts that we've got here. We're printing out get pizza ordered with testing in front of it. So it's going to run the method and directly print out without this part being done yet. Okay, so that's what we're printing out. Then this one is a bit different because we're waiting for this method to finish and then we get the value and we print out the value. So let's just quickly have a look at those two again. So let's just look at the testing printouts. The rest doesn't really make a difference. Sorry, let me just save this quickly and let's run it again. Okay, testing, instance of future string. That's the first printout. And then testing again, carnivore. Okay, so let's just look at those two printouts. So the first one says testing instance of future string, and this one says testing carnivore. So what happened now? The first time we run this get pizza ordered and we print the value that gets returned from this method, the value that gets returned is actually, you can see there, testing instance of future string. It's a future that gets returned. So it's a promise of something that will get delivered somewhere, but it's not there yet, and that's why it's giving me an instance of a future string. But as soon as it's done, that promise now gets fulfilled, and we get back the carnivore. So the first time we print this out, we are actually in the process of just getting the slip. Okay, we get the promise of getting that specific carnivore pizza. But as soon as it's done, we give in the slip, and we can get our pizza, and then we can go and eat and pay. Okay, so I hope you understand the concept now of what is a future in Dart, and I mean exactly the same thing will also apply to Flutter. Okay, now before we finish off this video, let's just run it one more time just to make sure that everything is still working. So we're done ordering the pizza, we start chatting, the pizza gets delivered successfully, we're waiting, and we pay the carnivore and on my way home. So let's just look at the waits again. Done ordering pizza. Now we start chatting. We're waiting for the order to get ready. Delivered. Now we're eating and we will be paying at the end, and we paid the carnivore and on the way home. So it's exactly what we want. So let's just step sequentially through this quickly, just by looking at these values that was printed out. Okay, so right from the start, we call go eat pizza. We run order as the first line, and you can see it prints out done ordering pizza. After order, it runs this part. Now that part is asynchronous, which means it will not halt your application because get pizza ordered is an async method or an async function. What happens in this function? We set the duration, we set the pizza's value as no pizza yet, and we wait. So here in the second background thread or wherever it's running, it's halting that thread and it's waiting for this value to get back. As soon as that value gets back, we return that value. So if it's done after that line, it will return the pizza, which will be this carnivore. But while this whole method is actually running, it's already running chatting because it will not wait for that. It's not halting my application. So it will go down to chatting. Chatting will print out chatting, and you can see that's why it's the second thing that happens. Okay, so if we start at the top, order happens first, and it prints out. Then it runs this method, which goes to the background, which takes longer than to go to the next line. So going to the next line, chatting, will print out chatting, and that's why we see chatting. After chatting, somewhere 4 seconds or so, then this is done. And the then method or the then function then runs, and it returns back the value. And it's this value that gets returned. That value is been passed then into eat and pay. Eat and pay will accept that value, and you can see it sets the duration and it sleeps for that time, and it prints out the pizza on my way home. So after chatting, what gets printed? It will wait for this thing to be done. If it's done, as part of that process of being done, it will print out pizza delivered successfully. It returns back the value, and it prints out paid carnivore and on my way home. So just to recap, a future then is a promise of something that will be delivered in the future. And as soon as it gets delivered, it becomes a string. In this case, we are returning back a string. As soon as it gets delivered, it's a real string. It's not a promise of a string anymore. It then becomes a string. So what we can also do here, instead of passing in or returning just pizza, we can pass in or we can return a future string and use the future of type string and use a value, and that value can be the value that we want to return, which in fact is pizza. So this is essentially doing exactly the same thing. So if you wanted to have that more specific, we are basically sending back the value of that future string that was promised. We're sending back the value as the pizza. So you can either just return pizza there, or you can have a future string.value and passing through the pizza. And you will see that if we save this, we will still get exactly the same output. Done ordering pizza, we're chatting a bit, pizza's been delivered successfully, we're eating now, and we're paying and paid the carnivore and on our way home. Hope you've learned something from this video. See you in the next one.